Welcome in, everybody, to this match between Eternity and Imperio. On the coal tower, we do see Ivan coming out with the Executioner here, not going for the Huntress or the Wraith. These two would have been the other options. We do see that he already locates the first survivor here, and he has been proven lately that he's a very, very confident P-head, so I am not too surprised with this choice over here. And it does seem like that the Lithe is not making too much distance, so potentially, Q, we might see the first injury coming in quite quickly here.
Yeah, we do see, though, as far as from the Ace doing a good job, especially with the Lithe, trying to pull Ivan away from those uncorrupted gens here right now. It does look like we've actually got a little bit of extra aura reading here from that Undying that's protecting the Ruin there. Unfortunately, not going to be able to make a connection with the M2 here, trying to get a first health state changes. We are about a minute into the trial here. You would like to at least be able to start the process of getting some of your momentum going here. Able to at least get the one M1 here, though. But at this point, Claudette's going to be going back into the corrupt side of the map, so this should at least buy Imperio enough time to get the one gen that they were doubled up on. Might even give them enough time for a second.
Yeah, I think Imperio is going to start quite good soon here. The first run actually coming out really, really strong for Wonder here, and we do see that the chase is now getting dropped here. So 90 seconds into the trial, just an injury. You do have your Hex Ruin, so this is going to do a little bit of work for you, but the Hex Totem also potentially just located by our Adam here. Now the chase coming out on the jungle gym, trying to fake the pallet there, not going to work here. The killer with a lot of patience and does not find the M2. A wonderful dodge coming out here while the survivors potentially pressuring the generators around him. So we are still kinda on the side of corrupt intervention here towards the left side of the coal tower. So Imperio, as you mentioned before, with a lot of potential here for the start.
Yeah, we do see, though, now getting the first M1 here, and since we haven't seen our first gen come out just quite yet, it does make me worried just a little bit as far as maybe we've had people push off of some gens since some of our runs have moved towards the middle of our map here. We have seen the Undying getting cleansed, however, we have not seen the Ruin getting cleansed thus far. We do have two gens, though, it looks like, that have quite a bit of progress. It does also look like we have a third survivor rotating, potentially setting up for a save as well as trying to locate the Ruin itself. But right now, you really want to at least start your process for your survivors here. You would really like to get the ball rolling as far as the generator speed, especially because we are going to now be seeing the first stack of that Pentimento coming out here, which we've been seeing more shifted into the meta. That's going to be slowing those gens down by 30% here. You would add that up with the Ruin regressing the gens. Right now, you've got to try and prioritize maybe even those totems before the gens, honestly.
Yeah, this is going to be an additional challenge for Team Imperio now. And the bad news is that the Hex Ruin is actually really, really close to the hooked survivor here. So even not with the quickest down, but now with the down in a very, very beautiful location for him. The Pentimento is leaving the trial straight again, but the passive regression on the generator is still standing here. You can kind of force Heisey into the second stage here while guarding your Hex Ruin. And I totally agree with you for the fact that the first run on the main building was really, really well done. We do lack a little bit in the efficiency, and those two generators here, the one in the midsection and the one at the full bottom, are currently ticking down, leading up to potentially 7 generators needing to be repaired by Team Imperio here if we calculate them all together, especially this generator, the logs here, from 60% all the way down towards 0. So we might even see the full camp into the elimination, given that our killer from Team Eternity is in a really, really great spot right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Ivan has really no reason to leave this quadrant of the map. You're right in the middle of a very nice 3-gen that you can be offered here on the cold tower. You've got this hook right in the middle of it here as well. You mentioned earlier that Ruin still being in right over here, even on top of that. So, yeah, even if you do happen to get, I would say, a 3rd generator here, right now, if it's not getting into that 4th one really quickly, this is where Ivan can go down and with the Ruin still being in play, just kind of do like we've seen on this side of the map. Make those gens see a big regression if you're able to get it down on that top side of the map as well. But we do see here generator number 3 getting done. Question is, how close are we to now seeing the main gen there as far as at the actual main building itself? But we know that Ivan has nobody back behind him. So, I mean, right now the pressure really being on our survivors from Imperio.
Absolutely, yeah. The survivor team needs to pick up the efficiency here quite quickly in order to get these objectives out of the way. And we can also see that there's kind of a 3-gen at the bottom side here. Definitely not the usual one for the Coal Tower, and definitely not a perfect one. But given that Hex Ruin is still in the trial and now really becoming a big problem here, it is quite impressive that our killer has managed to keep the setup until the end of the mid-game now already. We do see the next chase coming out onto the shack here. Ace immediately rotating over towards the right side here, so they are aware of which situation they are in. Very nice to see that. They probably setting up a plan right now, but it's very sure that this Hex Totem and one of these triangle generators here needs to leave the trial. And if I'm not mistaken, then this was just the main building generator, so that's a good amount of points here. 2 points going for you, but this setup over there looks really heavy.
Yeah, I mean, at least you know that you don't have to worry about the killer rotating over there, so you might be able to set up as far as for some rotations, for some heals and things like that as far as your reset. But right now, the big thing is you would really like to be able to focus onto the Ruin Totem. But I mean, right now, at this point, again, with not having to go up to the top side of the map, John has no reason to push past this quadrant. Keep that Ruin up, and you just simply have to wait to the point where you wait for the survivors to make a mistake. You get yourself a hook, and you get that hook on the side of the map and kind of do like a lather, rinse, repeat that we saw from the early part of the trial.
Going to be some mind games here leading into the down. Very beautiful one by our killer here, managing to get one down, and that's not too far away from our generator setup. Yes, you have to take the hook here on the mid-map, but you're really close towards this mid-generator. You can interrupt the Nancy and force the passive regression, and the Hex Ruin still in the trial. Imperio just not getting the control over it, and there it is, Carsten's curse. The Hex Totem just leaving the trial here. My only worry when we are talking about the survivor team is that even though they did a good job in cleansing that now, they're gonna face a Pentimento stack again, so this will be another time where they need to cleanse the Hex Totem if Ivan decides to apply it here. So even though it's removed now, the time is kinda running out here, and this Nancy being caught out of position.
Yeah, the Nancy getting caught out here is going to be big because now that's 2 injured survivors here in the trial. Now also might not be a bad idea to possibly be thinking about that Pentimento that you had mentioned earlier. Does look like instead pushing to the backside of our shack here. I think that's actually our last fully healthy survivor. Yeah, actually going to be the Ace here. So it does mean it will take 2 different health state changes in order to get Ace down on the ground, but you can feel kind of comfortable committing to this chase as well, since you have 2 injured survivors. You do see that one of them has reset. You can kind of anticipate that they might even be resetting together, which might give you some reason to commit, but it does look like Yvonne instead opting to break the chase here. Coming to see if maybe you can disrupt the reset over here at this point. Unfortunately, I think now, since you have broken from one chase, you've got to try and find that Ace once again. Luckily, it does look like, though, we have been able to locate the Ace over here on this right side of the map. Actually, back over here at the TNL, not able to get the shot with EM2 there as far as in the corner, but as long as you can play into this corner of the map, there's not too much you can work with. And if you get a hook over here, that will require a survivor having to walk like a far away from the objective side just to save their teammate.
And this was maybe also the chance for Imperio to get a little bit of gen pressure back into these objectives there on the other side, maybe doubled up, but on the other hand, this would be quite risky, because then if you're getting caught as a duo, you would be in a lot of trouble here. A little bit of progress on this mid-generator. It's going to end in a dry kick, so slowly regressing down back towards 0. The other 2 generators, not that far. There's the Pentimento, so you do have to take care about the Hex Totem once again, because you're facing 30% slowdown on your action speed on these generators. Now you locate the Claudette down here in the generator setup, immediately holding W towards the top side, but now you know that Ace with the rescue that just came through is still with the teammate on the top right side of the coal tower here, so you have some time to take the chase with Claudette here.
Yeah, you got time to commit, especially if you're trying to get this down here. Nice shot with EM2 in order to establish this down, and especially because here at this point, I was kind of surprised you go with the cage here. I feel like maybe you could have saved the cage to work around a potential BT on the unhook here, but instead is going to go ahead and go for the cage. Means you take less time as far as the hook animation, able to make a pressure over to the middle gen. However, not going to be able to disrupt the person breaking the pentimento. That is going to be the Nancy here. Sprint first, not going to build enough distance to avoid the M1. So now again, back to the point where you have 2 injured survivors. We do know that our Claudette has been recently uncaged by the ace. Over on this portion of the map, we see the scratch marks. The question is, who is it? It actually looks like there's a blood pool, so we know that is the Claudette. Now trying to rotate towards the back of the main building itself. If you can buy enough time for maybe our 2 survivors, or at least one of them, to finish up the last gen, try and make a play for the door, that would be huge. Instead, getting afflicted by the torment status, that's going to be a final judgment. That's another elimination. The question is, did you buy your team enough time?
Yeah, this is going to be the crucial point, and it doesn't look like, at least not from the mid generator here, Ivan doing such a wonderful job in forcing the survivors into the rotation from the unhook into the return to the generators, which is taking time and time and time, and this time is used to put another survivor into the dying state, and now the elimination here. So the 2v1 scenario now going to be really tough. We're going to see the chase with the ace, and what a wonderful M2 here. Long shot attack onto this survivor and immediately rotating back towards the generators. So even though the game is already going for you and you are in a very good position, you're not getting greedy, you're not taking too much time for the chases, you dictate what's happening in the match. You caught the survivor here on the track, which is injured, and a wonderful and confident M2. Now you can go for the slug here, trying to find the ace. So this is just an absolute great example of map awareness.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, you had mentioned even loading into the trial as far as the recent play that we've seen from Ivan on the Pyramid Head. This is part of the reason they probably felt confident coming out here on the Cold Tower with this pick instead of our other 2 options here on the map. And it does, you do see the scratch marks here. We know that we've been able to locate our final survivor here. The question is, how quickly can you establish this down? Hopefully you don't have to worry about your slug getting too far out of position. Of course, Cold Tower is a smaller map, so it's not as easy to kind of get yourself lost amongst the outside of the map or anything like that. A lot of pallets and everything, though, already down, giving a little bit of additional time here for the Jake to be able to build just a little bit of extra distance. Or sorry, not the Jake, the ace going back to the distance, but that's now the down with the M2. Both slugs over here, so as long as you wrap those up, that's a 4K here. You don't even have to worry about as far as your squad coming out on the survivors side next. They don't even have to worry about getting out the door. They just simply have to finish the gens.
And that's always such a huge win condition, right? Because you also cut out so many possibilities from the other killer. There's no one escapes death, no rank or nothing like this is going to really come into effect here. So you cut down a ton of strategies and a ton of builds from your opponent. And as you mentioned, the Survivor Team of Eternity is going to load in with a very great mindset and a high momentum at this point. Ivan just taking the responsibility here in trial number 1 and pushing his team into a really good spot. Really impressive how he made out this environment over here with the generators and his Hexstone, because we often mention that RNG can be a factor in Dead by Daylight, but Ivan created this RNG setup over here, and he made it work by zoning the survivors, by taking the time from them, by keeping them busy and avoiding that they're getting a generator done. So just an absolute phenomenal work that has been done here, given how he loaded in and what he had at the plan, and just following this idea until the very end.
Yeah, and just maintaining that setup from the word go is the big thing. And you also, something to keep in mind, that was the part of the gens that wasn't corrupted. So you took control of the map in the early part and then maintained that control through the end. So it's going to be interesting to see how our killer from Imperio is going to be able to respond here. So we'll be able to bring that to y'all after a very quick break. All right, let's take another trip on back into the fog, looking to see how our killer from Imperio here can respond, knowing that Eternity only needs to simply complete all 5 generators, or if they would like to go ahead and walk away with the win here on the killer side, you need to be able to get the 4K here done with 3 gens complete. Able to find some people right away, so the question is, how quickly can you build up the pressure in the early game? We saw last trial that took a little while for the first down. We see a very early hit with the first hatchet here though, and we're coming out on the Huntress, and of course with Babushka OCAP, we have the ability to be able to put some pressure out very quick, and that's going to be a very fast down here.
That is impressive, because I was just about to mention that Huntress is a really, really interesting pick given the win condition here. But this player here from Imperio seems to be ready from the very, very first moment. A down and an injury, and that all in the active generators here. So this is really, really huge. We also see the agitation coming in, so our killer does have a plan, making the hook location work in his favor here, and Poppy is denying the potentially only progress on this side of the map. We do see a failed skill check on the left side, so these 2 generators are currently attacked, but given the corrupt location on the other side, they are also the 2 only generators that have been attacked so far.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? We had talked about at the end of the last trial how our killer, Ivana, was able to come out and take over the uncorrupted side of the map, and our killer here from Imperio able to do the same thing. We do see those Sprinto, Bursto, does come out here able to build some distance. However, we see Claudette taking a hatchet to the back. We also see the borrowed time hit here onto the Kate, so you've been able to spread a little bit of damage. Might be able to go ahead and instead just continue the chase with the Claudette. Try and get these extra fresh hooks here. Try and make sure that you're spreading the pressure, knowing that you need the 4K and you need to be able to stack up these downs rather quickly. It's understandable since you know that you have somebody going across the map that needs to not only get healed but mend as well. But we do see Claudette right now throwing pallets with reckless abandon, just trying to build as much time as possible while we also see the reset coming.
Ooh, a nice mind game by Imperio's killer, but then pulling up the hatchet, which is slowing them down a little bit. This is not going to end in a down, and Claudette makes it all the way back behind this wall here. Steve doing a wonderful job leading into generator number 2. Getting completed here, so a very strong start by our Huntress, but since then the pressure really not on the Survivor team anymore. They have immediately recovered and found a great response how to go into the mid game here. Now we really, really lose time. Additionally, lost the track of the Survivor as well, being busy with breaking the walls in the main building, and this is really, really not what you want to see, because potentially Steve is going to receive a reset here before the next injury. That would mean that Eternity has gone for a full reset and being a fresh team again.
Yeah, and at that point, it's almost like starting back from scratch, but only 1 hook state in exchange for 2 generators here. And we had seen the Kate here. Even looks like Kate has done a very good job of being able to maintain the line of sight blockers, able to keep the distance here, only using the 1 pallet thus far. We do see our killer from Imperio does wind up the hatchet there, decides not to let it fly though, as we do want to make sure that we keep as many of those in our pocket as possible. Maybe try and go for a little bit of snowball action once you get the down onto the Kate. You're going to need to make something shake here, because we've already allowed a lot of time since we saw the first 2 generators getting complete. You're going to be surprised to be seeing a 3rd generator getting complete relatively soon here as well. Now seeing the hatchet go up here from our killer, actually a little bit of a nodders as well, recognizing that that wasn't the time to go for the hatchet. We do hear this gen behind us though, has a whole lot of pressure on it. Trying to see as we continue working around this pallet space here. We have the scratch marks. I think we've even lost track of that Survivor as well. Right now, Imperio feeling the pressure.
Absolutely, and it is unfortunately the result of not having the grasp on the Survivor team the entire time here. The early game was really, really huge, and there are 2 generators being completed while Kate is doing a wonderful job on the shack here. We need to mention there's no pallet anymore. They are making this really, really strong, and this was worried at the beginning. It's a 4.4 killer, and given the pressure here, you really, really wanted a little bit more map control. I was thinking after the beginning, this is really, really been done by our killer, but Eternity keeping down the control, having a great efficiency on the generators here, and already on the main door potentially here, so very soon at least 3 survivors going to leave the trial here.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just what we've seen from our Survivor Squad time and time again. There's the 3 out here. There's going to be the hatch escape as well. All 4 survivors out the door, and the hook. And you talk about only 1 hook state as well. That was absolutely phenomenal. Talk about just a way to seal things up here.
This is going to be Eternity taking the win. Congratulations, and we are going to see you soon for the main stage of Beyond the Stars.